Welcome to this joint presentation of the Wisconsin Resource Center for Charter Schools and the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. My name is Guy Levitt. I'm the Director of Organizational Consulting Services for the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. This session is part of a 9-part series of programs designed for school board, charter school authorizers. This is Session 8, Monitoring Charter School Performance and Finance and Contract Compliance. State law requires that annual programmatic and fiscal audits be done each year as part of a charter school, and those reports need to be filed with the Department of Public Instruction as well as with the legislature. Charter school authorizers are also responsible for monitoring the performance of each charter school and its compliance with state charter laws. And many times that monitoring information is probably going to be spelled out in the contract between the authorizer and the charter school. Some of the monitoring needs to be done, areas you need to evaluate. Obviously, the authorizer needs to be looking at student performance. Is the charter school actually improving student performance? Is the charter school complying with the contract that's been developed between the authorizer and the charter school? Is charter school autonomy being granted, and are student rights being protected as part of the charter school contract? Authorized need to have a comprehensive accountability and compliance monitoring system that does the following things. You want to avoid interference with the charter school autonomy, but at the same time, you've got to have clear and measurable academic, financial, and organizational performance standards. That gets to be kind of a tightrope for the charter school authorizer to walk in terms of gathering that data, but also not interfering with the autonomy of the school. And the way you do that is you've got to communicate regularly with the charter school on the process and methods and on the timing of gathering that reporting data and that compliance data so that the charter authorizer has that information. Authorizers have to implement comprehensive performance and accountability and contract compliance monitoring system that does the following. You've got to provide for the annual evaluation and the financial audit, which is going to be summarized in that annual report that has to be made to the Department of Public Instruction as well as to the legislature. You've got to provide technical guidance to the charter school as needed to ensure timely compliance with contract and applicable laws and regulations. And that technical guidance is something that is required of the authorizer. You want to visit each school as appropriate for collecting data, but you've also got to do it in such a way that you're not interfering with the school's operations, and that you're being respectful of that charter school's autonomy as part of the process. You want to communicate regularly with schools, including both the school leaders as well as the governance boards, and you want to make sure that they've got timely notice of any places where there's perceived contract violations or you have found performance deficiencies. That should not come as a surprise. There needs to be a regular communication line on how's that charter school doing. You need to determine the curriculum standards to be taught and assessed in math, language arts, science, social studies, vocational, and citizenship skills. Those are required by statute. The charter school determines how they're going to be taught. The authorizer is just making sure that those things are being monitored. And also the charter school must participate under Wisconsin law. It has to participate in Wisconsin statewide accountability system. Authorizers need to determine which data sources and local assessments will be used and reported. Those may be spelled out as part of the charter school contract, or they may be developed by the charter itself. And you also want to ensure that you're using multiple measures when you're looking at student performance, and then you also want to look at ensuring that you've got growth in reading, math, and that you are closing the gaps. Authorizers need to evaluate each charter school annually on its performance and on progress of meeting those standards and targets set forth in the contract. And you need to clearly communicate the results of your findings back to the charter school, to their governance board, so that they can make adjustments during the course of the contract. The NACSA standards for charter school autonomy talk about respecting the school's authority over its day-to-day operations. You've got to find a way to collect the information you need as an authorizer, but you need to do it in a way that is going to minimize administrative burdens on the school, but it's also going to give you the information you need as the authorizer to see that the charter school is fulfilling the contract and is also protecting student as well as public interests. You need to periodically review compliance requirements to increase school autonomy based on the flexibility in the law, streamlining requirements, demonstrating school performance, and other considerations. But the authorizer has to refrain from directing or participating in educational decisions. Those decisions remain the purview of the charter school, not of the authorizer. The NACSA standard for protecting rights indicates that the authorizer needs to ensure that schools admit students through a random selection process that's going to be open to any student who wishes to enroll, that's going to be publicly verifiable. It doesn't create any undue barriers to the application, such as requiring parents to attend meetings or parents to volunteer in the school. You can't have those kind of things in there. And you can't exclude students based on socio and economic background, family or language background, prior academic performance. You truly need to have a random process in selecting students for the charter. The authorizer has to ensure that the charter school is providing access to students with disabilities as required by state and federal law, including those students who might need a 504 plan in order to be successful in the charter school. You also need to have clarity in roles and responsibilities for all parties involved in serving students with disabilities. Which services is the charter school going to provide? Which services might the authorizer going to be providing as part of the contract? And in addition to any special education students you've got, you might have other special populations such as English language learner students, homeless students, or gifted students, and you want to make sure that you're meeting and protecting their rights as well. You also want to ensure that the school's discipline policies and actions are fair, and that they do follow the law, and that no student is going to be unjustly expelled from the school or actually is going to be counseled out of the school as part of the charter school. The authorizer is required to review financial audits of the schools, and those audits are prepared by an independent auditor. Many times it may be the same auditor that the school district uses, but simply is going to have a separate section of that audit for the charter school. The state requires that annual audit of not only financial but also programmatic operations. And the DPI will then review those audits, and they're going to follow up with a management response and may list some corrective action as a result of reviewing that audit report. As part of a fiscal audit, the authorizer is going to be exercising financial oversight that's probably going to be done by the district financial office. The charter school authorizer is going to determine what financial data needs to be collected, and that's probably going to be spelled out in the charter school contract. And authorizers may also want to include some budget forecasting in that charter school contract as a means of ensuring that upon renewal that the charter can be sustainable going into the future. This concludes Section 8 of this presentation.